Elias Ward didn't believe in destiny. He trusted engines, equations, and logic, anything measurable. Fate was for poets and gamblers. Yet as his exploration pod plummeted through a violet sky, spiraling out of control, even he wondered if the universe was mocking him. "Come on, hold together, just 30 more seconds!" Alarm shrieked. The pod shook hard enough to blur his vision. Flames licked across the viewport as atmosphere and friction chewed at the hull. His ship, the Vantage Explorer, was already a streak of fire somewhere behind him. Sabotage, or catastrophic malfunction? No time to figure that out. Impact hit like a freight train. Metal screamed. Panels burst free. Elias slammed forward into his harness and blacked out. He woke to silence. A humid heaviness pressed against him. The air smelled of wet moss and minerals. When he tried to sit, pain flared down his ribs. A few deep breaths steadied the dizziness. His hands unclipped the harness. The pod's hatch was warped, but a kick dislodged it. Daylight, 2 suns, flooded in. He stumbled into a jungle that looked like it had never known civilization. Towering trees with spiraling metallic bark. Ferns as tall as his chest. Vines glowing faint blue. The dual suns cast layered shadows, warm gold from one angle, cold lavender from the other. Elias brushed dirt from his face and reached for the only thing that survived the crash intact, his collapsible multitool. Once extended, it became a hardened staff with a reinforced alloy core. Useful for leverage. And hitting things. "Good morning, planet," he muttered. "You're aggressively inconvenient." The pod's beacon was fried, melted circuitry. No rescue until he made contact manually. He dropped to one knee and unpacked a small module, a transmitter plate, and a handful of conductive filaments. He began rewiring the system, hands steady despite the lingering tremor in his injured ribs. A low rhythmic thumping rolled through the jungle. Not mechanical. Not random. Drums. The cadence approached from his left, 3 beats, paused, 2 beats. A signal. Elias rose slowly, gripping the staff. The buzzing undercurrent of instincts, stay alert, assess threat, ran through him like a current. He pivoted, scanning through trees. Leaves parted. Figures emerged, silhouettes at first. Then details. Humanoid. Tall. Armored. They were all easily over 6.5 feet, their armor organic and metallic at once, iridescent like polished obsidian with streaks of blue. Their faces were partially shielded by helms adorned with braided vines and polished bone. Every one of them held a spear crackling faintly with contained energy. Elias forced a breath. "They're sentient." "Good. Sentient means negotiation." At their front walked a woman, at least, a humanoid female form. Her presence radiated command. Her armor bore layered plates that resembled folded wings, and carved glyphs shimmered with shifting light. Her eyes, violet and ringed with flecks of silver, locked onto the staff in his hands. She lifted her spear. Her voice dropped into the translator at his wrist device, delayed half a second. "Human. You bear the long staff." Elias blinked. "It's a multitool." Her gaze sharpened with sudden intensity. "The prophecy marks you." "Prophecy. Fantastic." He kept his tone calm. "I'm not here by choice. My ship crashed. I need to establish communication and—" She stepped closer, calculated, slow, never breaking eye contact. "You will fulfill your role." The warriors surrounding him lowered their spears in unison. Energy hummed through the air, a warning. Elias raised his palms, keeping the staff lowered and non-threatening. "What role?" She inclined her head, regarding him with a mixture of awe and predatory certainty. "The fertility bearer. He who restores our future." Elias blinked twice. "What now?" She spoke louder, for her warriors. "He brings renewal. He carries the seed of tomorrow." Translation delay or not, that sounded wildly inappropriate. "I'm not here to provide anything of that nature," Elias said carefully. "Also, that is definitely not what this tool does." The warriors murmured, a low ripple of disbelief. The two nearest flanked him, spears angled toward his heart. The leader raised a hand, they froze. I am Matriarch Viekora, first of the Vyarli. Her chin lifted. Our world dies. The womb of our people fails. We have awaited the one who falls from the sky bearing the long staff. That's quite a burden to put on a complete stranger. You will serve the prophecy. I'd rather serve common sense. Her eyes narrowed. Refusal is impossible. His pulse spiked. He adjusted his grip on the staff, not aggressive, but firm. I don't do anything without consent. Mine or anyone else's. A long beat. Spears crackled closer. The matriarch's voice hardened. You misunderstand. Refusal brings death. Well, Elias muttered. That escalated. They closed in, surrounding him. Elias calculated angles, distances, chances. 10 of them. Energy weapons. Full armor. Unfamiliar terrain. Running was pointless. Fighting would get him killed. Negotiation remained. He lifted his chin. You don't need a prophecy. You need a cure. If your people are infertile, there's a cause, genetic, environmental, something measurable. Let me help you scientifically. Silence followed. Heavy. Heated. The matriarch studied him like he was both puzzle and threat. You would deny destiny, she said, and replace it with logic. That's kind of my thing. She signaled with 2 fingers. The warriors seized him, firm, but not brutal, and marched him deeper into the jungle. The staff was not taken. It was treated like a ceremonial relic, guarded by 2 warriors who never allowed it to leave their sight. Elias was led to a clearing of woven platforms and carved stone. Drums beat. The tribe formed a circle around him, every face expectant, desperate. Viekora raised her spear. Hear me. The skyborn male rejects his purpose. He refuses the right of continuation. The crowd erupted into guttural disbelief. Elias forced a breath. You don't even know if I'm compatible with your species, biologically or ethically. A warrior snarled. Prophecy decides compatibility. That was not a sentence Elias ever expected to hear. Viekora struck the ground with her spear. Then he will prove his worth. What does that mean? She held up 3 fingers. 3 trials. Mind. Strength. Spirit. Her eyes gleamed. Survive, and you choose your role. Fail. The spears pressed nearer. Energy hummed. And your death fulfills the prophecy in another way. Elias exhaled slowly. Trials it is. Viekora stepped closer until her face was inches from his. You face judgment at dawn. He met her stare without flinching. I'm not here to be your salvation. Then survive, she said, and become something else. The warriors dragged him to a guarded shelter. The staff, his only real tool, was placed gently in front of him, as though it were holy. As night fell, the jungle glowed with bioluminescent blues. Drums echoed in slow ritual cadence. Elias sat cross-legged, ribs aching, mind racing. He had no weapons. No comms. No rescue. Just intelligence. And at dawn, a trial that determined whether he lived or died. He clenched the staff and whispered to himself. Adapt. Outsmart. Survive. Somewhere in the dark, a drumbeat shifted tempo. Judgment was coming. Dawn came with drums. Slow, steady, rhythmic, each strike vibrating through the woven shelter floor where Elias sat. Sleep never arrived. He spent the night cataloging everything: exit paths, weapon potential, guard positioning, Matriarch Viekora's posture around power. At sunrise, the guards returned, silent, disciplined. They didn't drag him out. They simply stood and waited. A sign of respect. Or a final courtesy before execution. Elias stood, staff in hand. His ribs throbbed, but his stance felt grounded. The lead guard, broad shoulders, shaved temples, violet eyes, gestured for him to follow. Time for judgment, Elias murmured to himself. Try not to die. The jungle opened into a vast arena carved naturally into stone. Tiered ledges held dozens of HFY warriors. They watched him descend the central ramp as if witnessing a sacred rite. Viecora stood at the far end beneath an arch of bone and metal. Morning light glinted off her armor. She lifted her spear. 3 trials test your right to live among us. Strength. Wisdom. Spirit. Her voice resonated across the stone. Complete them, and you choose your fate. Fail, and the prophecy ends with your death. Elias forced a breath. Let's make it interesting. She did not smile. Trial 1, Strength. A gate opened at the arena's edge, chains rattling. Elias braced his feet. The multi-tool felt small in his grasp against whatever would emerge. The creature that stepped out was not what he expected. It resembled a massive feline but with 6 legs, each ending in talons meant for tearing through armor. Iridescent scales protected the shoulders and spine. Its eyes reflected shifting colors, predatory intelligence. Its handler unlatched the final restraint. The beast lunged. Elias dove sideways, rolling his claws tore deep into stone. The crowd roared approval. The creature pivoted, faster than physics should allow, and charged again. He couldn't overpower it. He needed leverage, timing, and angles. He sprinted toward a pillar, baiting the beast. It followed, muscles rippling under scaled hide. Just before collision, Elias vaulted sideways. The creature slammed into the stone, momentarily stunned. Elias spotted a vulnerability, softer membrane between the plating and throat. He gripped the staff with both hands and whispered, "Don't miss." On its next pass, he slid low beneath its body and jammed the alloy staff into the exposed seam using all the force his injured ribs allowed. The beast convulsed, collapsed, then stilled. Silence. A heartbeat later, the arena exploded with shouts, shock, approval, disbelief. Elias pulled himself back to his feet, breath ragged. Viecora raised a single hand. Order returned instantly. "You survived by cunning, not brute power," she said. Elias steadied the staff against the ground. "Strength without thinking is just noise." The matriarch's expression shifted, not admiration, not yet, but recognition. Trial 2, Wisdom. Warriors escorted him into a cavern beneath the arena. Luminescent glyphs covered walls of smooth, pale stone. A massive monolith stood at the chamber's center, engraved with constellations and swirling patterns. Viecora approached slowly, her voice quieter here. "This puzzle predates our empire. Solve it, and the path to our ancestors opens." Elias examined it, tracing symbols with one hand. The glyphs shifted when he touched them, patterns shifting like sliding glass. Each movement hummed through the floor. A puzzle interlinked with the planet's star map. He spotted a repeating formation, 3 constellations always appearing near the top. Familiar patterns clicked into his mind. "Twin suns," he murmured. He rotated symbols until the dual sun alignment aligned with an outer ring. The monolith vibrated. A stone panel retracted, revealing a secondary layer, more complex. The clock was ticking. He traced spirals to star clusters, aligning them into what resembled orbital paths. One symbol pulsed brighter than the rest, a location marker. He rotated the panel until it matched the galaxy orientation from earlier. The entire monolith chimed. The floor split open slightly, revealing a holographic projection of the planet and a blinking point of light far beyond their territory. Coordinates. The crowd watching from above gasped. Viecora stared at him for a long time. "You saw what no HFY scholar has deciphered." Elias shrugged lightly. "Astronomy is part of piloting. And the puzzle wasn't mystical, it was directional." She studied the projection again. "These coordinates lead beyond our lands. A place important enough to hide with a star map. That means answers." Her eyes narrowed with something like unease and hope. Trial 3, Spirit. The warriors formed a loose circle around a flat platform at the arena's center. Elias was brought back above ground. His ribs ached from the first trial, sweat coating his skin. Viecora stepped onto the platform. No armor. No spear. Only a staff, similar shape to Elias's tool, but woven with coils of energy. This trial cannot be won with strength. Nor intellect. Only intent. Elias exhaled. Define intent. Do not yield. He raised an eyebrow. You want me to win? I want to see what guides your decisions. They circled each other. Her movement was fluid, precise, a dancer poised to strike. Elias kept the staff low. She struck first, lightning quick. Sparks flew as their staffs collided. Elias absorbed the impact and redirected the force instead of resisting it. You fight differently from my warriors, the Akora said, pivoting. Where I come from, surviving isn't the same as dominating. She attacked again, faster, harder. Elias blocked, rolled, came up under her guard. He could have swept her legs. Instead, he disengaged and reset distance. Her eyes flickered. Given advantage, you did not take it. I don't need to win by breaking you. Her blow came with genuine intensity, enough to rattle his bones. Pain tore through his ribs. He grunted and forced himself to stay upright. She went for his wrist, attempting to disarm him. He twisted his grip, looped her wrist with the staff, and shifted weight. The Akora hit the platform. Pinned, not with force, but with leverage. Elias held her there, breath steady. I choose not to harm you. For several seconds Heather moved. Then she tapped the platform twice, a surrender gesture. The crowd erupted. The Akora rose, standing eye to eye with him. You had victory. You chose restraint. I choose consent. Her gaze locked on his, searching. You are nothing like the prophecy described. Good. Prophecies have terrible accuracy rates. For the first time, her expression softened, not toward reverence, but respect. She stepped aside and addressed her tribe. He passed. By strength, by mind, and by spirit. The human chooses his own path. The crowd reacted, shock, outrage, disbelief mingling with reluctant admiration. Saris, the enforcer, stepped forward, furious. He must fulfill the right. The Akora turned, voice sharp. He earned the right to speak. Elias planted the staff into the soil. I don't want to fulfill your prophecy. But I can help your people, if you stop trying to force me into anything. The Akora's violet eyes gleamed with conflict. What do you offer? A cure. Not a ritual. He pointed to the coordinates still flickering on the projection platform. That location isn't symbolic. It's a facility. Your infertility isn't fate. It's engineered. A ripple of alarm swept the crowd. The Akora stared at the hologram again. And something inside her broke. Or shifted. You will take us there, she said quietly. I'll take you, Elias replied. But not as your captive. She extended her hand, not as ruler, but equal. As ally. Elias took it. For the first time since the crash, his heart steadied. He might live through this after all. The jungle changed as they moved deeper into Vyarli territory. Here, the air felt heavier, saturated with minerals that shimmered like metallic dust when the suns hit them. Trees curved into impossible angles as if shaped by gravity that didn't quite obey the rules. The warriors traveled with practiced ease, leaping across roots as thick as boulders, boots silent despite their mass. Elias didn't move with ease. He moved like a human trying not to die. He kept the multi-tool staff in hand and adjusted his breathing as his ribs protested each step. The Akora walked ahead, her stance rigid, eyes scanning the terrain. At her side was Lyra, the Akora's youngest daughter, scholar of the tribe. Lyra walked closer to Elias than necessary, curiosity outweighing caution. You navigate strange, she said. Elias sniffed. I navigate with bones still attempting to stay inside my body. Lyra blinked. Because you are injured. Because your pet warcat tried to turn me into mulch. Her lips twitched, almost a smile. You survived. That proves purpose. Or stubbornness. The Akora slowed, listening to their exchange without turning. Both are required. They reached a plateau overlooking the vast expanse of unclaimed jungle. Beyond the cliff was a barren stretch of crimson rock, unnatural, dead compared to the rest of the world. This was the area the holographic map indicated. Elias studied the land below. The dead zone stretched for miles, carved into geometric patterns only visible from above. The shapes resembled circuitry. "That's not erosion," he murmured. "Something built that." Viecora crossed her arms. "The Calatrax." The name dropped like stone into silence. Elias turned to her. "The ancient race from your legends?" Lyra answered instead. "Not legends. Engineers. They shape species. Worlds. We were a project." Elias stared at her face, expecting sarcasm. "None. You're saying your entire species was designed?" "We did not ask for life," Viecora said. "We inherited it." That settled heavily over them. They descended into the dead zone. The ground felt wrong beneath Elias's boots, hard like baked clay, yet vibrating faintly through the soles. The farther they walked, the more the air pulsed with electronic static. His hair lifted on end. The multi-tool warmed in his hand. Suddenly, Lyra grabbed his arm. "Stop." Ahead, the rock surface split along razor-straight lines. A panel retracted inward, revealing a corridor descending into the ground. Elias exhaled. "A vault." Viecora faced him. "You opened it. The staff responds to you." He didn't like how she said that, too close to reverence. "I didn't open anything. The mechanism reacted to the proximity of a conductive alloy. The staff just... It answers your touch," Viecora insisted. "It chooses. You make everything sound mystical." "Does logic make you less afraid?" she countered. Elias considered that. "No. But it makes me harder to manipulate." They entered the vault. The interior looked nothing like the VYRLI world, clean lines, no organic patterns. Pure function. Cold efficiency. A hallway stretched endlessly ahead, illuminated by soft white panels like starlight trapped behind glass. The tribe's warriors grew tense. Lyra ran her hand along the smooth wall. "The Calatrax created us to be perfect hunters. Perfect warriors. Then, they removed the ability to reproduce." Elias finished. Viecora nodded once. "We believed it was punishment for weakness. Or failure." Elias stopped walking. "It wasn't punishment. It was control." Viecora faced him slowly. "You speak certainty. No species shrinks its numbers voluntarily. Whoever modified your genetics wanted an expiration date." Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "A culling." A distant metallic whirring echoed through the corridor, soft at first, then louder. Elias spun. "That sound isn't doors. That's machinery activating." "Show yourself," Viecora demanded, spear raised. The ceiling split open. 3 hovering drones emerged, smooth spheres with shifting blue optical sensors. They locked onto the group. A mechanical voice activated, cold and emotionless. "Unauthorized biological presence detected. Correction protocol initiated." Elias swore. "Cover!" The drones fired narrow beams of crackling white light. The warriors deflected the first 2 shots, but energy scorched the stone beneath their feet. The tribe moved with perfect synchronization. Shields formed a barrier, Viecora leading the line. Elias sprinted to the nearest pillar and slammed the staff into a maintenance port. The multi-tool reshaped, its tip forming a diagnostic prong. Sparks showered from the connection. He bypassed security layer after layer, breath ragged. "Come on, talk to me!" Another blast ricocheted off a shield and slammed into the floor by Elias's knees. Lyra landed beside him, energy spear extended. "You work. We defend." He smirked despite the chaos. "Not the motivational speech I expected. You live better than most." Then she leapt back into combat. Elias forced himself to focus. The drones weren't random, they targeted reproductive compatible lifeforms. They were programmed to sterilize and terminate. "Got you?" He scrambled the drone targeting system. The drones flickered, powering down like puppets with cut strings, then thudded to the ground. Silence returned. Viecora stared at the inert machines. You commanded Calitrax Guardians. I exploited outdated firmware. Elias corrected. They were running a defense routine for genetic integrity. You were classified as a contaminant. Lyra looked haunted. Our creators saw us as disposable. Elias wished he had a softer way to say it, but truth mattered. You weren't designed to build a future. You were designed to end. They reached the final chamber. The vault core. A transparent column of liquid metal spiraled upward, pulsing with light. Conduits connected it to consoles arranged in ring formation. Symbols scrolled across them in an elegant alien system. Lyra's breath hitched. This is gene architecture. Viecora faced Elias. If you can restore what was taken, do so. He approached the console. The interface responded to his touch, glyphs shifting to a language the translator approximated. Genetic repair protocol available. Population restoration possible. Warning, risks unknown. Elias's throat tightened. The Calitrax didn't remove reproduction, they disabled it with targeted genome suppression. A kill switch on an entire species. He spoke without looking back. You don't need me to give you children. You need your genes unlocked. Viecora inhaled sharply. You refuse the right again. Yes, Elias said, voice steady. Because consent matters. Because you deserve choice. He placed both hands on the console. Lines of code spiraled across the core. Lyra stepped beside him. If this works, we control our future. No prophecy, he said. No forced destiny. She whispered. Freedom. He hit the confirmation. The chamber rumbled. Light surged up the column, spreading through conduits overhead like veins igniting. Data cascaded across the consoles. The system began rewriting the dormant genetic sequences. The hum deepened, vibrating the air. Then, a klaxon blared. Not catastrophic. Verification. Restoration lock released. Population can reproduce naturally. Lyra grabbed Elias's hand, her fingers trembling, not romantically, but in raw disbelief. Viecora stared at the core with a reverence that wasn't worship, but relief. We are no longer prisoners of design. Elias stepped back, chest tight from adrenaline. It's done. You don't need me anymore. Viecora turned toward him. In her eyes, for the first time, there was no command. Only gratitude. You came as captive, she said quietly. You leave as ally. He swallowed past the knot in his throat. That's more than enough. But as they exited the vault, Elias didn't notice the faint outline of a figure hidden in the shadows, a HFY warrior whose face hardened with hatred. Ceres. She watched them leave, whispering the prophecy like a threat. Not ally. He will stay. One way or another. The trek back to the HFY encampment should have felt victorious. The tribe would survive. Their children would not be myths. The future was no longer a fading ember. Elias should have felt relief. Instead, every instinct screamed danger. Lyra walked beside him, keeping pace with silent focus. Viecora led the group, spear lowered but gripped tight. The younger warriors, those who had seen the vault open and witnessed the code rewrite, walked lighter, shoulders high, eyes bright. But others whispered. Ceres, the tribe's most zealous fighter, moved in the back, eyes fixed on Elias like a blade tracking its target. She carried herself like someone waiting for permission to strike. The air tasted of tension. Lyra must have sensed his unease. You changed everything. They do not know how to hold something this big without crushing it. Elias nodded. When people depend on one belief for survival, replacing it with truth feels like theft. You exposed the lie. Lyra's voice was low, steady. Now they must decide what to do without it. The encampment appeared through the trees, towers of woven metal and bone, torches burning violet flame along the perimeter. Hundreds of violet eyes turned toward them. A murmur rippled through the tribe as Elias stepped into the center. The Akora raised her hand. Gather. The vault has been opened. The sterility has been removed. The tribe reacted all at once: shock, disbelief, relief, fear. Elias stood perfectly still. He had just given an entire civilization back their future. But the prophecy, the ancient belief, had demanded his body, his submission, his participation in their ritual of survival. He had replaced destiny with choice. Not everyone would be grateful. The Akora stepped aside so he could speak. You don't need me anymore, he began, voice steady. You never did. Your ability to have children was stolen centuries ago. I only returned what was yours. He placed the multi-tool staff in the dirt. I'm not staying. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Saris stepped forward, expression sharp. The prophecy says the bearer remains until the news cycle begins. He cannot leave. Elias met her stare. Prophecy didn't restore your fertility. Science did. Saris spat the word like poison. You mock our beliefs. No, Elias said. I refuse to be held captive by them. The Akora raised a hand to silence Saris, but the warrior pushed past her. We trained for extinction, Saris shouted. We prepared to sacrifice everything. Then this outsider walks in, rewrites our destiny, and believes he can walk away? Elias responded with calm precision. You don't want a savior. You want a prisoner. A sharp inhale spread through the watching tribe. Saris's voice dropped into something cold and certain. If he leaves, our unity dies with him. The crowd shifted, fear turning into something volatile. Belief, when threatened, could become violence. The Akora stepped between Saris and Elias, her voice carrying authority. You will not touch him. Saris drew her spear. If you won't uphold prophecy, then I will. Lyra grabbed her mother's arm. Stop this. But Saris was beyond reason. She moved fast. A spear thrust aimed straight for Elias's chest. Elias reacted without thinking. He swung the multi-tool staff upward, deflecting the weapon's path. The impact jarred his arms, sending pain through his ribs, but he didn't hesitate. He stepped inside her range, locked her wrist, and twisted. The spear flew from her hand. Saris snarled, lunging barehanded. Elias sidestepped, swept her leg, and pinned her to the ground using only leverage, not force. The tribe froze. The Akora stared, not at the struggle, but at the choice Elias made. He spared Saris. Again. The Akora's voice was quiet but absolute. This is why he is worthy. Saris looked up at Elias, breath ragged. You should have killed me. Elias shook his head. That's the point. I don't choose for you. He released her and stood. The Akora stepped forward, her presence commanding. Hear me, she told the tribe. We no longer bind our future to prophecy. We choose our path. Her gaze moved to Elias. You are free. The tribe parted, allowing him a path toward the temporary landing pad where his escape pod now lay repaired. Lyra walked with him through the hush of the crowd. They reached a quiet stretch overlooking the jungle below, where wind brushed against the cliffside. Lyra's voice broke the silence. You could stay. I can't, Elias answered, not harshly, just truthfully. You'll build something new now. It needs to be yours. She nodded slowly. You showed us we could choose our destiny. He paused. Keep choosing. Even when it's hard. Lyra looked at him, studying his face as if memorizing every detail. If you ever return, you will not return as prophecy. What then? He asked. As someone we welcome, not someone we require. Elias swallowed against the tightness in his throat. I like that version better. They walked the last meters to the pod. The Akora stood there, alone. No armor, no ceremonial weapons. Just a leader who had lived too long under the weight of inherited duty. I am not good with thanks, the Akora said. Then don't thank me, Elias replied. Thank yourself, for choosing change. She extended a carved medallion, a symbol worn only by the HFY's highest honor bearers. This marks you as ally. It carries no obligation. Only truth. Elias accepted it without ceremony and clipped it onto his belt. He climbed into the pod. Lyra stood just inside the hatchway. Will we see you again? He held her gaze. When the universe stops trying to kill me every other week. A soft laugh escaped her, quickly swallowed by emotion. Then you will be gone long. The hatch began to close. Elias leaned forward, voice low. Live your future. Not the one someone wrote for you. The door sealed. The engines hummed to life. Dust spiraled around the pod as it lifted off the platform. As the ship ascended, the tribe became smaller, blurred shapes against the bright horizon. Below, Viecora stood tall, Lyra beside her. Saris bowed her head, not in defeat, but in acceptance. The pod breached the upper atmosphere. Stars filled the viewport. Elias released a slow breath, heavy, steady, earned. He spoke into the silent cabin. I survived prophecy. The stars didn't answer. But for the first time in a long while, Elias didn't feel like he was running. He felt like he was going somewhere.